Before starting this video, I do want to give a thank you to my patrons that support the channel. And if you would like to support the channel, there are some great benefits for you in the link down below. So with that, let's get into today's video. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on PubStompMTG. So this video, I'm going to go over some cards you may want to consider picking up before the new Lost Caverns of Ixalan set appears. So I believe Lost Caverns of Ixalan will appear in November 17th. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not 100% sure if that's the right date, but there's some cards that are on my mind that I do want to share with you that you may want to consider picking up. These are going to be exclusive to Dinosaurs, so there's probably going to be some merfolk, pirates, or even vampires you may want to consider picking up. I may make a separate video out of that completely, but today I'm going to be focusing on Dinosaurs because Dinosaurs, I'm wearing a dinosaur tank top of a T-Rex curling, so I don't know. Dinosaurs are my thing. I'm very excited for Dinosaurs. Let's go over some of the cards you may want to consider picking up. So first of all, I do want to give you some honorable mentions because there's a lot of Dinosaurs to pick up right now. So many that I want to build around too. So for example, I do have Wayward Swordtooth and Wakening Sun's Avatar. So the big reason why these are on the honorable mentions is due to the fact that they were just reprinted in Commander Masters. They are pretty cheap to pick up right now. Wayward Swordtooth is a great ramp piece. Giving you an additional land drop each turn is pretty incredible so that you can ramp up into those big dinosaurs like Wakening Sun's Avatar where you can just board wipe and destroy all non-dinosaur creatures when you cast it from your hand. So cards like these are pretty good pickups, especially because they were just reprinted in Commander Masters. There were also some other dinosaur cards like Zakama, Gishath, and Zatalpa. By the way, these are also really great pickups, especially Zakama. It used to hover around $30 and now it's like $5? I haven't looked at the price recently, but I know it's pretty cheap right now because it was just reprinted as rare. So with the honorable mentions out of the way, I do want to talk about some of the cards that I do feel like will probably make the most impact in your Dinosaur Tribal specific decks. And the first card I do want to talk about is Regisaur Alpha. I like this card a lot for what it does for 3 red and a green. It's a dinosaur. Other dinosaurs you control have haste. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. So I feel like this is going to be a perfect card in your deck because dinosaurs are pretty aggressive in nature. A lot of them surprisingly don't have haste unless you're talking about Gishath. So having that ability to give all your creatures haste will be incredible value. Plus, not to mention, it does make a 3/3 dinosaur creature token with trample on the battlefield. Itself is a 4/4, so in total for 5 mana, you are getting 7 power on the battlefield in total. So honestly, that's pretty great value too if you're speaking of value in terms of getting more creatures on the battlefield. So with that said, that does lead me to my next card I do want to talk about, and that is Runic Armasaur for 1 green and a green. It's a dinosaur. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. I'll tell you what, Runic Armasaur is deceptively good. I've had many times where I've drawn up to like 3 or 4 cards for every round cycle when opponents are activating abilities, so I feel like this is a perfect card in the deck, especially because you're not really in blue or black to draw a bunch of cards. You are in most likely Naya colors, maybe in Grula colors, maybe in Selesnya colors, depending on what new dinosaurs they come out with. They may even go outside of the Naya colors and may go even like Jund or even Temur. I hope they have a Temur dinosaur, and I'm not talking about Calamex because I feel like that doesn't really work with dinosaurs. It's more of a Spellslinger theme, so honestly, I would love to see a Temur dinosaur. But again, going back to Runic Armasaur, I've seen so many times where I've drawn so many cards per cycle, and I feel like this is a great include in any dinosaur deck, especially for the low mana cost and the big butt. It is a 2/5, so it's a great blocker. Another card you should consider picking up is Atali Primal Conqueror, and on the backside, Atali Primal Sickness. Of course, the Phyrexians got to them in the Phyrexian arc, so that was very unfortunate, but we did get a very cool card with him. I do actually have my own commander deck of Atali because it's an incredible commander, but it could be a great card in the 99. So Atali, I do have a full video about him specifically in 2 different deck techs, so if you do want to go check that out, I'll post the link above here, but it has a very incredible ETB. When it enters the battlefield, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. So for example, if somebody exiles a land card, it'll just stay in exile. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. I'll tell you what, that ETB alone has won me many games, but if you haven't won the game just quite yet, Atali Primal Sickness may get the job done for you because it does have Trample and Indestructible, and when it deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. So when you do pay 9 and a Phyrexian mana to flip it into Atali Primal Sickness, that could be a win con for you in the deck. So this has easily, and I mean easily, has been one of my favorite commanders that I've played in recent time because the randomness of flipping into cards with your opponent's library and your own library and casting it into big spells. All I wish is this was also blue in the color combination so I could use a lot of flicker spells and also clones, but Atali Primal Conqueror will be a shoo-in in any Dinosaur tribal deck going forward. So after talking about Atali, I do want to talk about another card that I feel like will be potentially really good in many decks to come with Dinosaurs, and that's Apex Altasaur. So for 7 and 2 green, it's a dinosaur. When it enters the battlefield, it fights up to one target creature you don't control, and it does have that enrage ability. Whenever it's dealt damage, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. So any kind of damage, whether you throw a lightning bolt at it, if somebody dealt combat damage to Apex Altasaur, or even with that ETB when it fights another creature you don't control. So basically, this is a board wipe in green. I mean, I know 9 mana seems like a lot of mana, but when it enters the battlefield, it will fight a target creature. Then that enrage trigger will happen so that you fight another target creature you don't control, and repeats it until it's basically dead. Or if you do have a heroic intervention, you could just give it indestructible. Then you could just destroy the whole entire board, leaving Apex Altasaur on the battlefield and all your creatures. So I do know one glaring issue with Apex Altasaur is that mana cost. 9 is a lot of mana. I mean, you could ramp into it. That's very easy to do in green. There's also ways to cheat it in by using cards like Atali Primal Conqueror, or even Gishath's Son's Avatar. So there is that, and that's why I wanted to mention it today, because it's a very good card, especially for the strategy. So the last dinosaur I do want to talk about is Marauding Raptor. This is an incredible value engine for your deck, mainly because of that first ability. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So in most cases, you're going to be casting dinosaurs, reducing their cost, but this is any creature spell that you do have in your hand. So whether it's a human or even like a dragon, for example, I don't know why you'd be playing dragons in Dinosaur Tribal, but there's that option. Also, on top of that, he does have another ability. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 2 damage to it. If it was a dinosaur dealt damage this way, Marauding Raptor gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So I will say, if there is more enraged support, which I hope there is in the new Ixalan set, this is going to be a perfect card to keep those enraged triggers going on so that you could get insane value from them. Plus, what I do like about this creature, it's a very good early game creature for 1 and a red, so it's very cheap to enter the battlefield. Plus, it's a 2/3, it's a good blocker for those early game triggers, especially blocking those Ragavans. Plus, what I like most about it is the fact that your creature spells will cost 1 less to cast. So I know this isn't a splashy dinosaur like Atali Primal Conqueror, but it does have so much versatility, getting your dinosaurs out earlier and potentially giving those enraged triggers more and more as dinosaurs enter the battlefield. So I do feel like this is going to be an excellent card to pick up because it's very cheap. I want to say last time I saw it was like 70 cents, so honestly a very cheap pickup for you if you want to go try it out for yourself. However, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video on some dinosaurs you may want to pick up before the new Ixalan set comes out in November 17th. So there is some time to pick them up. I will say I don't know which some of these cards are going to be reprinted or not, but either way, I feel like these are cheap enough to pick up without any downsides. So there's a forewarning there. These might get reprinted. I'm not 100% sure by itself, but there are some cards like with the Commander Master set where I feel like they're not going to reprint those, but some of these cards they may consider reprinting, especially if they do make a dinosaur precon, so there's that to watch out for. Other than that, I do feel like these are going to be great cards to pick up nonetheless. So with that said, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and with that out of the way, thank you for stopping by.